Homeschool my kids? No, I'm good. Thank you very much. But wait, what if homeschooling was actually where the cool kids go? See, when I was growing up, that was kind of like where the weird kids were. But today, things have changed, especially in the Catholic homeschool space. So that's exactly what my guest, Megan Lengyel, is going to talk about from Kolbe Academy today. Let's get started. So Megan received her BS in physics from the University of Dallas in Irving, Texas, and her MS in meteorology from the University of Oklahoma in Norman, Oklahoma. She served as Kolbe's math and science advisor until helping to get the online academy off the ground in 2013. She now serves as Kolbe's chief academic officer. Hello. Megan and her husband now live near Atlanta, Georgia, and have 4 children, all of which attend Kolbe Academy's online school from the comfort of their home. Welcome to Modern Catholic Family, Megan Lengyel.
Thank you so much, Jim. I'm so excited to be here. And congratulations on this new endeavor. I'm very excited for you.
Thank you. This is the perfect day to have a meteorologist with me because we can literally hear the thunder. Even though we're in our basement studio, we can hear the thunder rolling right now.
Yeah, I made sure to check the radar just to ensure we were safe.
Yeah,
we're good.
And your kids are at home without you. Hopefully they're okay.
Yeah, they're fine.
Okay.
They're probably checking the weather too because the apple did not fall far from the tree in that regard.
That's awesome. So I want to get right into it. I really don't know a lot about homeschool other than there are a ton, I would say probably half the kids in our life teen group are homeschool. At least it seems like it. I don't know.
Oh yeah. Also, they recruit each other. So,
yeah, that's true.
You know.
So I guess what I want to figure out from you is, was there a pivotal moment or kind of an epiphany that you and Craig had in deciding, hey, you know what? We want to be the cool kids and have our kids do homeschool.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to pinpoint, I think. And certainly COVID changed the perspective of a lot of families with homeschooling.
Yeah.
In fact, I've been at Kolbe Academy it'll be 20 years in June. So it's been a while. And and I remember when Colin, my oldest, was in like first grade. And I'm like, Lord, do you want me to homeschool? Because I really do not want to homeschool. Why am I even working at Kolbe? Like, what is happening here? And, he was slowly working on my heart. And so in 2013, there was a family that I had worked with that was like, hey, why doesn't Kolbe offer online classes yet? Because everybody else is doing it and you guys are going to, get behind the times. Yeah. And I'm a very competitive person. I wanted to have like the best math and science curriculum. We're a classical school. I always wanted to make sure we had the best. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I better look into that. Yeah. So myself and another colleague presented kind of a proposal to our executive director at the time to launch. We were just calling them online classes. We had no idea it was going to turn into like a full-fledged online school back in 2013. And she was like, sure, that sounds great. And I was like, oh boy. Okay. So, like I said, that was in 2013. And, the first year we had 139 students that signed up for one online class. Kolbe itself had, probably close to 2,000 students using the homeschool program. But we had 139 of those students that were, we'll pioneer this. That sounds good.
No pressure.
No pressure. So, I think we offered maybe 21 different classes. Yeah. It was just high school, 9 through 12. And then in the following year, it just took off. We tripled our enrollment tripled in the online school and hiring tripled, and it just continued to grow from there. And then we kind of leveled out. We were sitting around 500 students or so up until COVID. Yeah. And then we kind of leaned into it and said, hey, seriously, let's go ahead and open an elementary school too. That sounds fun. So at that point in 2020, we had the online school served 6th through 12th grade. Okay. And our executive director was like, people need us. We need to start an elementary school too. So in the fall of 2020, we launched a K through 5 elementary program, and we were able to use a lot of the knowledge we had, from opening the 6 through 12 school to kind of distill that down and make it appealing to the littles. Yeah. And then that has continued to grow as well.
Yeah.
So now we have about 1,200 students in the online school.
Wow.
And Kolbe has about 2,500 students total.
Wow.
So
what do you think was kind of the rush? I mean, it seems like the adoption rate was pretty high when you guys first did this. Why do you think that was? And that was pre-COVID.
That was pre-COVID.
Way pre-COVID.
Yeah, I think with homeschooling families, up until that point, if they wanted to homeschool, it was really all on mom or dad. You got a course plan that you used to teach your child.
Yeah.
And if you had, a large Catholic family, you might be teaching, 7 different subjects to 8 different children, maybe not that many, but sometimes, and it's a lot.
Sure.
So we found families were really interested in offloading a class here or there.
Okay.
So that's kind of how it was used initially is families would, who don't have a math background, they would put their kid in the online Algebra 1 class, know, and then they would take care of all the humanities classes because they were cool with that. Or in my case, it would have been the opposite.
Yeah, you wanted the science and the math.
Exactly. I would have taken the science and the math in a heartbeat and then, please teach them how to write.
Yeah.
But then kind of what COVID did and kind of providentially in 2020, right before COVID happened, we launched a new enrollment option that was called full-time online. Okay. So families used to just take a class here or there. Yeah. And we didn't really have a full-time model for families that wanted to do all online classes. Okay. So providentially, we launched that model it was like mid-February of 2020. And that particular program has grown a lot. Yeah. So, and now my own children are taking advantage of that full-time online program. Now, I might homeschool a course here or there. Okay. I was supposed to homeschool a geography course for my 6th grader this year, but it hasn't happened yet. But she's got like 8 other online classes. Yeah. So I'm like, maybe we'll do that over the summer.
So you can actually kind of pick and choose.
You can.
And I mean, I know you're the academic director. Mm-hmm. So it's not like it's unique to your position. Like any of the 2,500 or the 1,200 who are doing this online the parents can choose, well, I'd like to take this. I would like to handle this course versus you guys do the rest.
Exactly. And Kolbe still has, the homeschool curriculum that you can get and to use to facilitate that at home. So you aren't just on your own. And just to clarify, the 6 through 12 program is very, I'll call it a la carte in the sense of you can do this one online, this one homeschool. The K-5 program is designed to be a full online experience because they only have like 2 teachers for all the subjects, and it helps them to get to know the students. Now you can do things like you can opt out of the math if you want. Yeah. Doesn't change the tuition or anything if you wanted to do your own math program or if your child's like super advanced in math or something like that. So,
okay.
Yeah.
What about like we were talking off air about PE credits and how does that work?
Well, at Kolbe, we're fairly laid back about getting, PE or fine arts credit. You just kind of have to write up what you're doing and submit it. We have guidelines of like what you're supposed to be doing on a week-to-week basis. Yeah. But, if your child's involved in a cross-country team or baseball or something, you can submit that. And really, there's no credits required till you get to high school. So anything you report in elementary school is just kind of a bonus.
Yeah. And I would think that parents that want to do a homeschool option are probably, I don't want to judge because we don't do homeschool. So I guess I'm judging against myself. But like, I would think that you're even more invested in what your child is doing and how they're learning. And so when it comes to something like PE, you're going to be like, all right, well, you also need to actually do this. Like, we're not going to skimp out here.
Yeah, there's also kind of like a scrupulosity as like the homeschool parent. I'm like, I can't lie about what they're doing on their transcript. Like that's just, then I got to take that to the confessional. Yeah. But there's also kind of talking about that principle of subsidiarity where parents are making the choices for their children that are best. They know their child best, right? Yeah. And the church talks about that principle quite a bit, is like the decisions should be made at the lowest level possible. So, and that applies in the Catholic Church to like parishes, the Pope isn't going to like regulate what programs the parish has, right? You know, as long as they're, within Catholic Church teaching, it's fine. So in similar ways, that's kind of a principle that Kolbe abides by, is like the parent is the primary educator. Yeah. They know their child best, deferring to what they think is best for their child in terms of education and all that sort of thing is a good thing. So,
What do you think have been some of the highlights for you guys? Like some of the big advantages that you never expected out of being in a homeschool environment? Because our kids started out at the same Catholic school right here in Johns Creek, and it's a great school. And you know, it doesn't go through high school anyway, so they eventually go off on their own. But what do you see as some of the advantages of, whether it's specific to Kolbe or just in general? Like, what are some of the things that you've been like, wow, I never thought that would be a thing? Or
So I think the biggest thing for any homeschool family, I think what they would say, well, I guess everybody has different opinions, but I just love being a part of my kids' day and knowing what they're doing in school. I mean, even at the local Catholic school where they're very like transparent about what's going on. You know, I know what curriculum they're using. It's still not the same as like hearing those aha moments. Like I got to overhear my oldest giving his rhetoric speech a few times, like during his class that he was taking this year. You know,
do you actually, like crack the door open and like, what's he doing?
Well, and there's a whole lot of like, you know, hey, I have to go on mic today, so don't bother me. And you know, like, okay.
Just like me and my family before we record this podcast.
It's exactly like that. You know?
Don't bother us.
And I'm like, you know, all these kids have big families. Like nobody's going to care if they hear, but they're very, especially my oldest, like he's like, do not interrupt me.
I can see that about him.
And funny. Anyway, so that really is the most, it's the thing that means the most to me. Just like being a part of their lives, because when you send them off to school all day, like just think about the number of hours they spend in school and you miss so many opportunities with them.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, I've gotten to know my kids in a way that I never did before. And so next year is the first year my youngest will be homeschooling. She's been at that Catholic school, which academically is great. It has a great Catholic identity. So it really has nothing to do with the school, right? It just has everything to do with like wanting her home. And she's hilarious. She is just like the epitome of a youngest child. And I can't wait to add her to the mix next year. So.
And I think about just getting to create those moments that you would otherwise miss. And I'm thinking like we have seniors, right? Colin's a senior, right?
Well, no, he's a junior.
He's a junior. Okay.
He's an old junior.
Okay. Got it. Yeah. And so Oliver, our son, is graduating this year. And it's made me think so frequently in the past, even just a couple of weeks, because he's graduating next week. And it's like, oh my gosh. Now it's starting to, like, the Cat Stevens music is playing in the background. Right? Like, did I spend enough time with him? Did I, you know?
I know.
It's like, oh my gosh. But yeah, you have every opportunity.
And I mean, I still don't take advantage of all the opportunities, but like, it really is, it's been such a blessing. And also Craig works from home.
Oh,
so
okay.
We're kind of like this big happy family under the same roof. And like, sometimes we fight a lot, you know, or there's just, we get in each other's way.
Did you guys install sound insulation in the walls?
Oh my gosh, we should. I'm looking at this podcast studio going like, maybe this is what I need.
Soundproofing.
My homeschool room is my office.
Okay.
And we redid our basement a couple years ago and really designed it so that I could have the kids there while I'm working, so I could kind of oversee. I'm on the phone all day long. I'm on Teams meetings like all the time. I'm talking all the time, but they're in their classes, you know, and we pretty much get along. Like if they have to get on mic, sometimes they go in the other room. Now Colin has moved up to the dining room almost permanently because he just can't really handle all the talking that I do. But it's funny because sometimes he'll come down to his desk and immediately him and Austin are just like wrestling and like, I'm like, okay, go back up to the dining room.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What are some of the challenges that you face with homeschooling, and what are some of the challenges too that just I think our society in general are challenged with that may lead them to want to consider homeschool? I know there's two different questions. So first, what do you feel like are some of the challenges?
So, you know, and I think a lot of mothers can relate to this. There's a lot of mental load that goes with being a mom, whether you're homeschooling or not. But homeschooling adds another layer of kind of mental load. And so you kind of have to embrace that and hopefully get your spouse's help with some of the things. So like Craig, for example, has basically picked up all of the cooking in our house. And he's been traveling this week.
Yeah.
I made it till last night before we went out to dinner.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but like, those are the kinds of things that like, if you can have that partnership with your spouse, it relieves some things.
Sure.
So yeah, just that mental load of all these assignments need to get done and they're not at school with a teacher to oversee it.
Yeah.
You're not just dropping them off at the curb. And man, there are some days where it'd be like, so nice, just for a day, could I just drop them off?
Yeah.
And in fact, if they're all out of the house, including my husband, I will sometimes shout at the top of my lungs, I'm in here by myself. Because it just never happens. Yeah, it never happens.
That's so funny.
And I do think, in particular, one of my gifts is being able to kind of handle that chaos. Like when my youngest was a newborn, my oldest was learning to play the saxophone that same year. He was in fourth grade and I was trying to make dinner and she's crying and he's playing the saxophone. And I'm just like, oh Lord.
That's phenomenal. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Please help me, Lord, get through this.
Then the next part of that would be, what are some of the challenges that I guess we all have in general in society that might lead people to want to consider homeschool as an option?
Yeah. I think this is a hard one because I definitely have the view that you need to not be of the world, but still live in the world. And sometimes homeschooling can give that impression that you're trying to just circle your horses. I don't know if that's the right.
Sure.
Is that the right
Circle
saying?
the wagons?
Yeah, circle your wagons.
There you
That's
go.
what it is. I'm terrible with those things.
That's okay.
But, you know, as it has gone over the years, you know, with public education, there's agendas and that sort of thing. I mean, there's safety issues. There's a lot of different reasons that people get kind of tipped over the edge into homeschooling. And I would really like to say, at least in our journey, it was more about providing a really unique opportunity for our children to be at home with us. It wasn't necessarily to escape anything in particular. But I also did want to surround them in a really solid Catholic environment, get that formation while they're young, and then they can go off into the world and be of it afterwards. And we definitely don't shelter them. Like I kind of overcompensate with activities. Well, it depends who you talk to on overcompensation. But when they were in the brick and mortar school, I was like, you get enough activities there. I was very limited on what I would let them do after school. And now I'm driving them all over the place after their classes are done. And it's a little bit much. So, and I think another challenge is that socialization piece. People really worry about, you know, will they make friends and all that stuff. But I think the opposite thing is they don't have to deal with a lot of that weird social awkwardness in middle school and high school where it's not really a normal human construct to like have, you know, 25 people of the same age in the same walls all day long. That's where weird stuff brews and
lots of drama.
And we don't have that even in offices, right? We have our own space and all that sort of thing. So
and I know your kids, like I can vouch out. So, you know, I know your kids through Life Teen. I know them because I coached your daughter in soccer a while ago.
I forgot about that.
I know it's been a while, right? But like, I can genuinely say, like, your kids are normal, and maybe they are the cool kids. No, but I mean, from a social aspect, like I don't see any issues. You know, while Austin likes to talk a lot during Life Teen in small group, and that's cool.
He does?
Right. Yes.
That's great.
Yeah. But no, I mean, I genuinely can say that like your kids, there is no social awkwardness that I think, like you said, I think a lot of people worry about with a homeschool environment. You know, you were mentioning, and I like, this is a Catholic podcast, right? And Kolbe is a Catholic homeschool system or organization. Let's talk a little bit about the Catholicity.
Catholicity.
Sure. Yeah. That's embedded in Kolbe specifically.
Sure. Yeah, I think one thing you would find in Kolbe's curriculum is that we bring the faith in where it naturally makes sense. You're not necessarily going to be like, you know, counting angels in your math book or anything. And we use secular science textbooks. So that's something very different than other Catholic homeschool programs,
Yeah.
you'll often find that either they use like more of like a creationist Protestant science curriculum.
Yeah.
And so that's something we're very proud of, and something that I helped develop back before the online school.
That's awesome.
It also is known for being one of the more rigorous homeschool programs.
Okay.
So one thing I like about it is I knew that while they were still getting that authentic Catholic experience, my children, they're getting pushed.
Yeah.
They're being challenged.
Yeah.
There's honors classes, there's AP classes. But we also are just launching a new subset of classes called foundations classes.
Okay.
Because we do have students, they really want access to that Catholic classical curriculum.
Okay.
But sometimes it was a little bit much to do Kolbe's full-on curriculum. So we have some classes we're launching for 6th through 9th grade next year. I anticipate we'll add on 10th, 11th, and 12th in another year. So that would be for students that maybe don't need quite the rigor that some of the other courses bring.
Sure.
And in combination with that, we also started offering this past year a special education program.
Oh, awesome.
Which has been something that is been kind of on our hearts for a while.
Yeah.
And we did it.
Yeah.
We always had something, but it wasn't very good. It just didn't serve the families the way they needed to serve it.
Okay.
And so we hired we had somebody that came in as an academic advisor with a special ed background, and she was kind of nudging us.
Yeah.
She was like, you guys could do this so much better, and let me show you how. And so we basically just let her convince us that we should launch this whole thing. And now we're going into year 2. We have resource labs that support students.
That's awesome.
Students can have either high touch accommodations that get done in those resource labs. Yeah. Or just, kind of your regular accommodations that you can have. And
sure.
So that's been a huge blessing, and just something that I don't know of another Catholic online school that offers something like that.
That's phenomenal. Yeah. I think we're actually going to do an upcoming episode talking about special education, but also just special needs in general. And when it comes to education, and also raising your kids, that have special needs from a Catholic perspective. But one thing I want to ask too is tell me a little bit about the community aspect of it. And I don't know. So are there other Kolbe kids outside of your family locally that you guys get together with? Is there any kind of hybrid aspect of Kolbe? And just touch on that.
Well, so the school is fully online, but first of all, within the online school, there's a whole bunch of clubs and that, so for example, Colin is one of the leads at the on the news show that they do every Monday.
Not surprised.
And and people log in, they watch the news show. It's hilarious. They all have all these inside jokes, right? Yeah. And so it's really nice that we can provide that. But what we always tell families is you got to find something in person too. It can't all be online. Yeah. It's a good supplement. So we're very blessed here in the Atlanta area to have a lot of homeschooling families, some that use a hybrid school. They kind of have community built in.
So they're not all Kolbe, but you're kind of in the same situation.
Yeah, we don't discriminate against the people using other homeschool curriculums. And I'm sure you've seen this, at the Life Teen group. They're kind of all different. But we do have other Kolbe students. Yeah. So and that's how I first got involved with the homeschool group here is I knew 2 local Kolbe families, and I was like, hey, I'm doing Kolbe online next year with Colin. How do I plug him into stuff? And I was so worried that I wouldn't find stuff for him. And now I'm like, I can't, he's so busy. You know, they're all so busy. They all have friends, and you just kind of find these nooks and crannies to plug people into.
That's awesome.
So it's great.
All right. One last question before we get into the rapid fire round.
Okay.
What's up with the swing dance phenomenon of homeschool kids in Atlanta? And is this just an Atlanta thing, or is this a big movement in America for swing dance and homeschool? I have to tell you, so for those watching, listening, I'm a Life Teen core member, which means I'm one of the adult leaders, and half the events we have, the homeschool kids end up breaking out in swing dance. And I don't know why, but holy cow, they're actually good. What the heck is going on there?
So I don't know exactly. However, so I went to the University of Dallas, which is a Newman Guide Catholic school, very authentically Catholic. Okay. Swing dancing was big there. Really? I got there and everybody was swing dancing. So I don't know. Is it a niche Catholic thing?
I don't know.
So, and there were a lot of homeschoolers that kind of come to that college. So I don't know, maybe
It's
Maybe
very
it came from there.
footloose, but with like
Yeah.
charm.
Yeah, exactly. Did you
And
notice
grace.
in the like St. Bridget, the pamphlet on the
Yes.
new
Yeah,
life
the building.
center?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
there's a picture
Oh,
of
yeah.
two kids
Yep.
swing dancing. I was like, that's
Yep.
appropriate.
Yeah. Isn't one of them Austin? Or no?
No.
Austin's in the pamphlet though, isn't he? Or Colin?
Yes, they are
One
in
of
there
them.
from serving.
Yeah.
Like the vigil last year.
It's hilarious.
It is
Yeah,
funny.
swing dancing. Send your kid to homeschool and they could learn how to swing dance.
Uh-huh.
All right, let's do the rapid fire round. Are you ready?
I think so.
Don't be nervous.
I'm nervous.
You got this. All right, what's one resource you think every Catholic family needs to know about, whether it's online or offline?
So other than Kolbe Academy,
Yeah.
one resource that I have loved for our family is Catholic Family Crate.
Okay.
And it's one of those monthly subscription services that my husband hates. Because
You're selling it.
Yeah, because he doesn't like the, monthly dipping into your account.
Okay,
right,
okay.
right. That's all.
But you love it.
I love it. It's this little box. It's
Okay.
super cute. And you open it and has all these different things for celebrating whatever the liturgical season is.
Oh, that's
Okay.
awesome.
So once a month, you get the saints, some of the big saints.
Yeah.
So we just got the May one and it had like St. Joan of Arc in there. And it's a
Oh.
little piece of artwork you can put on your
Yeah.
kitchen table. And my girls who are 6th and 3rd grade, they love it.
Yeah.
I wish I had it when the boys were a little bit younger, because
Yeah.
it just kind of helps you focus your faith a little bit with some like items to help. And sometimes it comes with little like games or
Yeah.
stickers or things that
That's
just
super
make
cool.
it fun to
Yeah.
like celebrate your faith.
All right. Hear this, Catholic Crate. I might be reaching out to you to be a guest on the show.
Yes.
That's really cool.
I'll send you their link and you can.
Yeah.
Tag
Yeah.
it
We'll
or
absolutely
something.
put it in there. All right. What's one book that you're currently reading or one that you highly recommend on any subject?
So, hold on. What's funny is our team just finished reading 5 Dysfunctions of a Team by Patrick Lencioni.
Yes.
Have you read that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're kind of doing that as some like professional development at the
Yeah.
leadership level. But
Do you guys happen to run on EOS, your business model?
Mm-mm.
No? Okay. Just curious.
No, I don't know what that is.
Okay. I'll tell you later.
But another book I'm reading that we're considering for using with our teachers this
Yeah.
coming year for professional development is called Let Beauty Speak.
Okay.
It's by Jimmy Mitchell, I believe, is the author.
Okay.
Ignatius Press publishes it.
Awesome.
And it's kind of about getting back to wonder and beauty
Mhm.
and looking at the world through the way God wanted us to look at it. And
Yeah.
it has applications for classical education.
Yeah.
So classical education is all about like wonder and beauty and like,
Yeah.
finding the truth and everything.
Yeah.
And so this book kind of pertains to that. So it had like I just finished the chapter on friendship.
Okay.
And it was just so wonderful to like kind of delve into that
Yeah.
and like recall that like how important friendships are.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like you reached out to me last week and I was like,
Yep.
we haven't chatted in so
I
long.
know,
This is
I know,
great. And
I
like
know.
those things are so important for human
Like,
existence.
you see my kids, I see your kids all the time, but we
Yeah.
never really see each other.
Exactly.
And just in passing. Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's cool. Awesome. I love it. All right. What's one piece of advice you would give to your younger self?
always never underestimate the mercy and grace that God can give you. I think
Oh.
when I was younger, and I don't know if it was a scrupulosity thing or just like always feeling like I wasn't good enough,
Yeah. Yeah.
and not to underestimate how much God is merciful, how much he loves you.
Yeah.
And to know that going into everything, because if you have that confidence, like even when you make mistakes, you can pick yourself right back up again.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you for being vulnerable with that too.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. What's one final piece of advice related to homeschool that you would leave our listeners with?
If you're thinking about it,
Yeah.
just take the dive. You could do it for 1 year. You could tell yourself, let's just give this a whirl for a year.
Yeah.
You might actually like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love it. Yeah. I mean, this has been enlightening for me because like I said, I mean, I've seen all these quote unquote homeschool kids and it is like, there is a, still, I think just from our generation growing up, like that stigma of like, oh, they're off on their own.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of,
We're the
like,
weird family
Yeah.
in the neighborhood now.
Right.
Great.
But then as I get to know them better, just like anything in the world, right? You peel back the onion layers and you realize, no. there is nothing wrong with these kids. There's nothing. I know these families. I know there's nothing wrong with them.
Yeah.
But they're glowing. They're smiling. There's something great, wonderful going on here. So God is obviously at work in what he's doing with Kolbe and what he's doing with your family. So I appreciate you being here. If people want to get more Megan Lengyel in their life, how do they find you? What's the best place? Is some kind of social media or?
Yeah, I mean, oh gosh, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook.
Okay.
I mean, I can leave my email address if somebody wants to contact me.
If you're okay with that.
Yeah, I can give it to you if you want to link it in the show
Go
notes.
For it.
You want me to give it right now?
Go for it.
Okay, it's M Lengyel, MLENGYEL at Kolbe, KOLBE.org.
Perfect.
I gave you my work email because if it goes to my personal, I might not see it.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I'm the same exact way. Megan, thank you so much for being you are our first in-person non-family member guest on Modern Catholic
Amazing.
Family. We're going to look back at this episode and be like, wow, we had so much work to do. No,
I'm so excited. This was wonderful. And
I
I really enjoyed talking to you, and I wish you the best on this podcast.
Thank you very much. Well, this won't be the last time, I have a feeling.
Yeah.
We need to get you and Craig on this.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Awesome. For now, family, God bless. We'll see you later.